Welcome to your online coffee break, where we discuss bite-sized topics that inspire, educate, and entertain. Here's your host, a software innovator, award-winning marketer, and astronomy and space buff, Chuck Fields.
Hello, thanks for joining me today for your online coffee break. Today I'd like to welcome my special guest, Christian Patouraux of Kacific, a next-generation broadband satellite operator. I was fortunate to meet Christian at the launch of Kacific1 aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on December 16, 2019. Kacific1 is a next-generation geostationary satellite that will stream high-speed, low-cost, ultra-reliable broadband to rural and suburban areas of the Pacific and Southeast Asia. Kacific1 will connect previously unserved or underserved populations with affordable, high-speed broadband for healthcare, education, government services, businesses, and disaster relief. Its services will stimulate economic growth and provide greater access to the internet.
Online coffee break.
Christian, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Chuck.
Kacific is your brainchild. You helped found it in 2013. I was just wondering for our audience, can you tell us a little bit more about the background behind Kacific?
Yeah. Well, I guess, before I started Kacific, I had a career of about 20 years in the satellite industry. Yeah. And throughout my career, I realized that there's a lot of kind of shortcomings in the industry, a lot of places that the industry doesn't cover, and that is in high needs for satellite connectivity. And that is in particular in rural and remote areas of Asia and the Pacific Islands. So at the same time, I felt like satellite broadband was not really coming to Asia as it is in North America, in Europe, even in Africa, South America, but in Asia and Pacific, I guess the prevailing offering was still broadcast via satellite, and broadband was not really there. So I decided to start it, to design a satellite that would offer access, low cost, and high speed per point of presence to remote and rural areas that were in high needs for that. And that's how it started. And it seemed to be the right thing to do because it snowballed to a point that, we managed to launch the satellite on 16th of December.
See, I think that's incredible. And I was there with you, and it was incredible. And I just couldn't imagine what was going through your mind. Here it is, all this effort, your team. What was it like to finally see Kacific1 launch just over 2 weeks ago?
It was really surreal. I just couldn't really believe what I was seeing. It was, it was, of course, the culmination of a lot of work, but there was still a lot of stress until the last moments. All the things that happened, a lot of phone calls until the last minute, making sure everything was aligned. We had 160 guests out there in Cape Canaveral. We had 60 guests watching it at our office in Singapore. So that added to the stress, I can tell you. And it was, the moment it went off, it was like, I don't know, like a 200-pound weight that just got off my shoulders and fell off. And I felt literally, I really felt lighter because I just saw it go off and that was it. And there was a lot of those worries that all of a sudden disappeared. And it was just the next step to take.
Well, congratulations to you and your team on that. Can I ask, how's the satellite doing right now?
It's doing very well. It has entered the normal mode at its final location at 150 degrees east. It's fully deployed and it's starting to being tested right now. So
great. I was wondering, can you tell us just a little bit more about the specific mission objectives of Kacific1?
The objective is to connect like I just said, to connect the rural and remote areas of Asia and the Pacific. I would say that the further objective is to connect, to fill the fundamental gap in connectivity, the digital divide that leads to a lot of suffering in remote and rural communities in Asia and the Pacific. And that is connecting, for instance, school, police stations, post offices, but also health clinics, dispensaries that often see a lot of human dramas without connectivity. We've actually tested that. We've tested the value proposition of connecting clinics like that, using Ku-band systems for the last 3 years, waiting for Kacific1 to be built. And I can tell you, we've already saved, about 30 or 40 lives throughout the different clinics that we've connected. So I can only imagine the value that Kacific1 will bring.
Oh, that's fantastic. And when when will it actually be online? Like, when will that first customer be able to connect?
So we will start bringing customers online on the 23rd of January as it stands today. So as I told you, the satellite is now on station and fully deployed, waiting for its final in-orbit testing. So we have our ground stations that are ready to go. We're just waiting for the final testing, and then we slowly bring all the 56 beams online. So as it is now, we are targeting 1st of February for commercial service, which is a very, very short time. If you imagine between the launch and the start of service, it would be only a month and a half.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was impressed. I was expecting a much longer timeline. So that's very impressive. One thing you mentioned too at the press conference, I just wonder if you could share it again, is just the download speeds. What kind of download speeds roughly could the customers expect?
Well, it really depends on the size of the terminal that you're using. So, we could go up to 1 gigabit per second on trunking on 4.5 meter terminal, but that is not really the standard equipment that we're proposing. Although some customers have taken that option, the standard equipment is more like the 1.2 meter, the small terminals to deploy in those remote communities. And on that, we are offering something around between 100 and 150 megabit per second. So It's really a good amount of downloads, something that you could expect from cable internet.
Absolutely, which is impressive. Now, one thing too, at the press conference, you mentioned the benefits of using the geosynchronous orbit of the satellite as opposed to the low Earth orbit satellites trying to offer the same thing. Can you tell us a little bit more just about the benefits of the geosynchronous?
Yeah, so, the geosynchronous is, I guess I see it as twofold, really. The one is very straightforward. The terminals on the ground don't move. They stay fixed. They're always pointing at the same location. And because of that, they're a lot cheaper. Right. The cheapest terminal that we could offer is below $500, even potentially below $400. So that is just off the table for LEO or MEO constellation, because you need dual terminals, you need phased array, so that's a lot more expensive. Right. And the second advantage is actually that you have a very consistent service, because you're always pointing at the same points in space. And therefore you are, once you install the system, you make sure that you have a good line of sight. But with LEO or MEO constellation, because especially LEOs, you always have satellite coming from different direction that's, kind of hand over their service. So you need kind of a cone of line of sight that makes it a lot harder to make sure that you have a consistent service. And in fact, what you'll have in the end is a service that is similar to what you have in GPS in, high-rise cities, where sometimes you have signal, sometimes you have poor signal, sometimes you have no signal. And there you are stationary, at the same location, receiving that at your home, and you wonder why you have such a variable service. Some people have called it earth fade in the past, because, it's actually a blockage from this line of sight. Yeah.
Christian, let me ask you this. Have you always looked up to space? What sparked your interest in space in the first place?
Actually, I have a master in turbo machinery. So what my first interest was in engines and propulsion. That's really where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
And, slowly, I guess I made my way through from propulsion. I was hired at SES and started developing an interest in attitude control, data processing. So I don't have originally a telecom background, but then slowly I developed a taste for business development that made me really take an interest in the telecom side of the business, and then developed an interest in broadband. So no, I guess at first I was more an aeronautics engineer, propulsion engineer. And, it's just slowly I took an interest in space. So no, I didn't dream of space when I was a kid. I was more dreaming of engines and machines that made a lot of noise and smoke. So
well, that makes sense. And look where you are now, which is incredible. One last question, if I may. I know obviously we're working against Kacific1 in action for your customers. What's next for Kacific? Is there a Kacific2 in the works? What's next?
Well, yes, I guess the company realizes that, where we've gotten with Kacific1 is, of course, with a lot of work, a little bit of luck, but also doing what is really obvious. That the obvious thing is that there is a market for that kind of offering. You don't raise that kind of money that we've raised. You don't get all these customers signing for this kind of bandwidth just by chance. There is a real market behind that, and it's not limited to Asia Pacific. The market is global. You just have to identify those pockets of demands in rural and remote areas in developing parts of the world, and these developing countries are scattered around the world. So definitely we are working already on Kacific2. We have blueprints for Kacific2. Most likely it will be a satellite that will augment the capacity of Kacific1, but also starts encroaching into larger territories.
Wonderful. Well, Christian, again, I just want to congratulate you and your team for this wonderful success. I want to wish you the best of luck in the future. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chuck. Have a nice day now.
Online coffee break.
Wow, I really enjoyed my conversation with Christian today. Hope you did too. If you'd like to learn more about Kacific, just go to their website at Kacific.com. That's Kacific.com. I want to thank Christian for joining me today. I want to thank you for joining us today as well. We really appreciate your support. If you want to listen to more space-themed podcasts, don't forget our new program at yourSpaceJourney.com. And again, if you like this program today, we'd love it if you'd give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or a comment on your favorite podcast application. Thanks again for joining me today. We'll see you next time. God bless.